Hello there and welcome back to BDCraft. This is tutorial video number 2 and I'm going to start off from where I left off last time, where I'd built my house and survived my first night. Now today I'm going to show you guys how to survive from that point on. You may see they have full health and full food bar, which I managed to maintain last time, but as we go forward, finding fresh food is going to become more and more difficult unless we produce our own sustainable food source. Now, let me close the door. Like I say, we'll lift off in the morning after our first night's sleep, and this is what we managed to produce on our first night. Didn't do bad. It's a decent sized house and it's safe, which is what counts. Now, we know now that we can skip the night time as long as we're back at our house. So we're not in such a massive rush We're not in such a massive rush to get everything done in our first night. We're basically in a safe position. What we want to do really is just collect some grass, get some seed together. We'll go out and find some coal and we'll try to produce our own crops. The good thing is I have some water nearby, plenty of water actually, and all I really need now is to find some coal so I can produce my own light. You see, when wheat grows it requires nothing technically. If you leave it outside with no water and no sunlight, it will grow during the day period but not during the night period, and the rain will produce the water that it requires. So you don't technically need to do anything special to produce wheat, but if you provide it with water and you provide it with constant light during the evening, with torches for instance, then you will produce a much greater crop in a much less time, minimal time actually. You can actually produce a pretty good crop overnight, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Now first of all, as I showed you in the previous video, you can get seeds from grass simply by hitting it. Now there's a lot of grass. You're never going to run short on grass, so collecting seeds should be pretty easy. Again, what you want to do is just watch your food bar, make sure that you're not going to starve, and if you are going to run out of food, then kill the odd animal, not Bozo, he's our friend, but kill the odd animal, and just try and keep your health bar topped up, because if your health bar drops below full, then your health won't regenerate. And then you can end up in pretty bad situations where you're trying to get home without being killed. Even small drops can kill you. So let's just collect some seed quickly. You can collect quite a bit of seed very quickly if you just run through it. Again, try to restrict running if you think you're low on food. If you think you're pretty stable, you've got plenty of animals around that you can afford to kill, then you feel free to sprint all day. Do all your jumping and running and so forth, but just keep an eye on your food bar. How many seeds we got? We got 17 seeds. That's actually a pretty good start. Okay, so obviously the more wheat you get, the more chance there is that you're going to be able to provide a sustainable food source for yourself without actually starving. The worst thing is obviously if you have a food source but it's not enough to keep you going, or you have to feel that you have to sit at home a lot, sleep during the evenings, and generally not get out and enjoy the game as you should be. Now, providing yourself with a good stable food source is going to allow you to enjoy the game much better. You won't have to be so worried about taking long trips and running out of food. Like I say, you always have the option of killing animals, but animals don't respawn. Monsters do, obviously. They respawn every evening, or in dark areas, but animals don't. You have to breed them to create new ones. I mean, that's probably enough for 34. Right. Now, at the beginning, you may not have the resources to produce your own farm and keep spiders and other objects out. So you can simply just plant wheat next to a water source. Now, in order to plant wheat, you need to produce yourself a hoe so that you can hoe the land and produce plantable soil. Now for that, it's quite simple. It's very similar to the other tools. It's simply 2 sticks down and you can just put 2 sticks across the top and there you have your hoe. Now, like any other tool, it's right click to use. So simply hoe the land and right click to plant your seed. Now, like I say, that seed will grow without any water and without any sunlight. Well, during day sunlight, but no artificial light. Now, me planting it there, that's not going to help it. It's not getting water there. The soil isn't saturated by the water that's close by. It has to be on the same level and it has to be within 2 blocks. So, for instance, if I hoe this land, that land will eventually become saturated with water, and any crop planted there will grow much quicker. So, plant that. Now, we'll keep an eye on those 2 and see how they grow. And we'll plant a couple down here. This isn't ideal planting positions. I'm just chucking them in little places, seeing how they go. Now, the best place for me to plant is going to be right by water. So you want to find yourself a good patch of land where you know you'll be able to get to it quickly to farm your newfound crops, and which isn't too dangerous or too far to get to, because if you're running low on food and you have to keep running forward and backwards from your crop area, you're not going to be doing your food bar any good. So keep it in a nice place where you can get to. Now, rabbit might get out of my way. I believe rabbits actually eat ready planted crops. So we'll keep an eye on this guy. Let's see how he gets on. Hopefully he won't be eating all my crops. No, he's not a runner. So let me sit this down. Now, I notice there's some coal in there. I'm going to grab that in a second. Just need to be cautious of the sun. Now, let me grab this and then dig my way out. Any amount of coal is good. You're going to need it, so pick up any that you see at the beginning. Oh, hello. Nearly got squashed by some falling sand then, because I'm in the current. If you stay above the water, you'll dig faster. As soon as your head goes under the water, you'll dig at a much slower pace. You see this coal is taking much longer to break. See how long that took? That was a long time, and I think I glimpsed some iron under there. Right, now I need to try and dig myself out. Before me being down here becomes a problem. Ah, sun. I need to get in bed really. Okay, I'll come back to this. But I got myself some coal, so I can make myself some torches, and that will help me to grow my crops. Now you notice, crops don't grow particularly fast up here, but this one down here is moved on a stage already, and that's likely because the soil that it's on, much like this, is saturated. Chances are there's some water just under here that's saturating that soil. Possibly the same water as here, it's just underneath these blocks. Now that will grow much quicker because of that saturation. Hey Bozo. Alright, good times. Now, we're coming for the night. Can't sleep yet. So, this is how we make torches. Okay, so you need sticks. You put sticks in, and then you put coal on top. And you get 4 torches for every 1 stick and 1 coal. See? And torches are useful, so we'll keep hold of those. The good thing about torches, stop things spawning in your house, which is nice. But also, it can stop stop monsters spawning directly out your front door as well, which is also nice. At the moment, we're not too fast. We'll go to sleep, and we'll get back to our farming. Now, when you first walk out your door in the morning, be cautious, because the sunlight may be there, but it doesn't instantly kill monsters. So if anything did spawn during your night cycle, it could still be hovering around, and if it's wearing armor, which is likely in hard mode, it won't burn in the sun at all. So always be ready to defend yourself. Don't just run directly out your door and hope for the best, because you will be killed. Now, torches, much like water, have a distance at which it improves your crop. Now, water will only travel in 2 blocks for saturation, and then after that the water isn't really helping your crops grow at all. Light is very similar, so it has a maximum effect directly around it, and then maybe another couple of blocks out. After that, it's not going to help a massive amount. So the best thing you can do is just make sure that you're lighting enough of your crop, but don't go overboard. That'll do. Those 3 torches should help that whole area to grow. You're going to need quite a lot of crop, like I was saying before, so don't produce a tiny patch and expect to get a piece of bread. It's one of those things where you have to put quite a lot in to get a little out. At least at first. Later on, you'll get to a point where you'll be able to keep hold of your food source without doing too much farming. There we go, see? Now, that will probably produce only a small amount of bread, maybe only 5 pieces if all of that was fully grown. Each piece of wheat, and you may get more than one piece of wheat out of a fully grown crop. Each piece of wheat is only a third of a piece of bread. You need 3 bits of bread, 3 bits of wheat to make a whole loaf. So you should really try and keep as much crop going as possible in order to produce a sustainable food source. Now, I'll put a little more down. I mean, I've got the seed for it. And I need to make this work, because I want to actually be able to come back to this place and not worry too much about it killing me because I didn't put time in. So we move this over a little bit to there, and then put that on there. And that should cover. I don't want to use too many of my torches. Coal is still going to be a rarity for me until I can find a decent source for it. Preferably a mine of some sort or a cave. Now, just a simple patch like that. Should be able to light with a single torch. So, you know, be cautious about where you place stuff. Don't use up all your torches and stuff at the beginning. As the game progresses and you start finding that you're worrying less about food, you'll be able to go out venturing, and the stuff that you have planted already should be more than enough to produce your food. You'll be able to come back, harvest it, and be ready for another few adventures. It's just at the beginning you need to be cautious. You don't want to put too much stuff in and then think later on, oh, all this stuff I've done, I want to remove it all. It's all a bit in the way and it's not useful anymore. So, you know, build and produce as you think you're going to actually need it. Hey, buddy. Yeah. So, having a little scout around. Let's just see if we can. And there we go. See, there's coal in places very close by. It's not a hard substance to find, but it's not overly likely that you'll find masses of it just sitting on the surface. You need to get underneath the surface to find enough to use properly. Now, we're into our 3rd day, about halfway, and you'll see that when I get back, the crops have hardly grown at all. It's just one of those things. It grows slowly. You kind of have to survive the first couple of days just on animal meat and maybe apples from the trees. As you chop down trees, if there's no wood in the trees, the leaves start to degrade, and as they do, they drop down saplings and things like apples. If you get apples, they're only a very, very small food source. They hardly produce any of your hunger bar back, but they do. They work. They may keep you alive at the beginning. You may be very thankful that you picked them up. And you see my crops coming across quite nicely. If you're on PC a good trick to see if your crops are fully grown is if you press F3, you get this spangly information screen. Now, on the right side, underneath my graphical hardware listing, you'll see that it says Minecraft wheat, and it gives you an age underneath on the right side, about the very bottom. So it says the age of this is 2. Now at age 7, it's fully harvestable. So sometimes, depending on your texture pack, you may see that it looks like it's ready to harvest, and when you break it, all you get back is a bit of seed, and that's because it's not fully harvestable. It wasn't ready. You really need to make sure that they're absolutely fully ready before you start harvesting. So press F3 to get rid of that screen again. Now that's probably going to take another couple of full days before I start getting anything out of it, and even then I won't be able to produce much food. So I need to get out there and gather some more resources. I'm going to produce a little pen for Bozo so he doesn't wander off at some point. I quite like the guy. I want him to stick around. So let's see if we can find some more coal. And I'll probably grab some more wood and make some fencing. You really want to keep things off of your wheat because, and I'll demonstrate in a second, if something jumps on your wheat or even on the earth that you've already tilled with your hoe, it will actually flatten it back down to normal dirt, and it'll be useless to you again. You have to replant your seed because that will break, and it just sets you back. You really want to look after your farms. I mean, it is possible to fully cover your farms, so it's completely impossible for monsters to get in, and that's fine if you want to do that. I prefer to keep the natural look, keep them outside. But as long as they're well lit and you've provided water inside, then there's no reason why you can't do that. Like I say, grab some more wood. See what I can get. Gonna need some more wood for some fencing and stuff. Don't want zombies jumping out the water onto your wheat, breaking everything. It's just not cool. Yeah, also watch out for your wood dropping onto leaves. This makes it difficult to get. So if I get some wood, and I'll show you what happens to the leaves when you strip the tree completely of its wood. As long as leaves are attached to wood, then they'll stick around. If they don't, they will start to disappear, usually quite quickly. Ooh, I think that's the one disappear then. And what they'll do is they'll break down because they've got no wood attached, so technically they're dying, and they'll start dropping things. So there goes another one. And every now and then you'll walk under a tree that's disappearing and you'll pick something up, and there we have it. Look, we have a sapling. So with these you can produce sustainable forests as such. I'll plunk that back in where the old one was. That should grow again. You can make them grow with some bone meal collected from skeletons, but generally they'll grow pretty quickly anyway. You don't need to do that. But sustainable forests are useful. Like I say, trees don't grow back, animals don't grow back. You have to take care of your environment and make sure that you're not going to use up all the resources close to you and then have to travel to get more. I mean, you can always replant them from other trees if you travel a little bit. Generally, just take care of your surroundings and you won't have to spend hours trying to get wood. You shouldn't have to anyway. So, coming to the end of our third day. Probably going to jump back in bed in a minute, so not to bore you guys. And as you'll notice, we're not doing particularly well with our wheat still. It's not a particularly fast food source, it's just the most reliable. So don't expect it to just jump out the ground. That said, if you can gather the resources, if you can grab some iron and make a bucket and start transporting water to a farm, then you can produce a really efficient farm very, very quickly. All fenced in so it doesn't get damaged. And you just end up with more food than you know what to do with, which is great, obviously. Now, let's see, should we get some more fence going and then start? And actually producing a farm. Never won't get me much. We need a bit more than that. Do 5 of those. And I'll show you what I do for a farm in a second. Let's produce a gate, because we'll be able to get in, aren't we? So we're going to need the odd gate. Sleep. In the morning, I'll start producing this farm.